In this video, we'll give you 4 tight ends that had the widest range of outcomes in 2024 fantasy leagues. I'm Jim Coventry, along with Anthony Servino of RotoWire.
Jim, my first tight end with the widest range of outcomes, Kyle Pitts, Atlanta Falcons. And I hate to say it's now or never, but it is now or never for Kyle Pitts. There's no more excuses. It is go time for Kyle Pitts. We bring in Zach Robinson, Kirk Cousins, supporting wide receivers, Bijan Robinson, and a top-end offensive line. This should be the year that Kyle Pitts finally lives up to that hype coming out of college. Well, coming out of college, he was across the board a generational talent. Even in his rookie year with a quarterback like Marcus Mariota, he topped 1,000 yards receiving. He was only the tight end 11 that year because he only scored 1 touchdown, and it has not been good since. If anybody has a bad taste in their mouth from being loyal and drafting Kyle Pitts, and you want to step out now, I think that's a big time mistake. With somebody like Kirk Cousins, let's just think into recent memory what he did for TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson was operating as a top 3 tight end with Kirk Cousins. This offense is going to throw the football more so than any Arthur Smith offense that Kyle Pitts was part of. If you are drafting a tight end early, I am drafting Kyle Pitts over guys like Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid. Right now, he's a tight end 7 on the board in ADP, and I'll have him ranked as high as my tight end 4.
My first tight end with a wide range of outcomes is Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, McBride had a breakout year last year, 825 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it may not sound like the greatest season, but don't forget, in the first 5 games, Zach Ertz was the lead tight end. And during those 5 games, McBride only had a total of 69 yards. So once Zach Ertz was pushed to the side, we saw Trey McBride post 756 yards in just 11 games. That is the upside. If Trey McBride is getting heavy targets, 8 per game, 136 over a season, which that'd be a huge number, but that was the target pace he was on from week 6. If that continues, we see a massive season. But here's the problem, the downside. Trey McBride was often functioning as the top receiver for the Cardinals. We saw Marquise Brown miss a lot of time. We saw Michael Wilson miss a lot of time. And sometimes McBride was the only option the team had, whether it's Kyler Murray or quarterbacks earlier in the season when they had backups playing. And McBride ended the season on somewhat of a down note. McBride had at least 31 yards in each of his last 3 games, but didn't go over 48. And Michael Wilson played heavily in those last couple games. So that was important to note. So now Marvin Harrison comes in, picked right at the top of the 2024 draft, should command alpha level targets. Said earlier, Michael Wilson had a great start to the season, at least 55 yards in 5 of his first 8 games, averaged 60 yards in his last couple games. So if Michael Wilson's a strong number 2, Trey McBride could go from being the top option to the 3rd option. And if that happens, Trey McBride will have a very disappointing fantasy season. So be careful when you're drafting Trey McBride if you're concerned about target competition. If you like videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, check out all of our content for fantasy football and our rankings by getting a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed. Just go to rotowire.com/Jim to see all of our content.
Jim, my next tight end with a wide range of outcomes, Philadelphia Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert. And Dallas Goedert through the years has been money. Now, we do have to worry about the injury concern. He has yet to play a full season in the NFL. He has missed time due to injury. But if you look at his fantasy finishes since 2019, he has finished as a tight end 12 or better and fantasy points per game. Last year was his worst finish at that tight end 12 mark. Right now, we're drafting Dallas Goedert at his floor. He is a 12th tight end off the board. But what I like about Dallas Goedert going into this year, and which makes me want to buy back into Dallas Goedert, is Kellen Moore. Now, I know there's a lot of proverbial mouths to feed on this Philadelphia Eagles offense, but if we go back to the old Dallas Cowboys offense that Kellen Moore has run, the tight end played a big time role in it. Now, Dallas Goedert has not always been a guy we can count on for targets, but he's been efficient and he's been a weapon in the red zone. So if you're looking for a high floor tight end that packs a little bit of ceiling, Dallas Goedert is an immense value as the 12th tight end off the board.
My last tight end with a wide range of outcomes is David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Now, Njoku is coming off the best season of his career in 2023. 123 targets, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns. It was a great season. However, it was a very tale of two seasons approach for Njoku. In the last 4 games when Joe Flacco was the quarterback, Njoku averaged, and listen to this, 7 catches, 90 yards, and he averaged a touchdown per game. Incredible numbers. But if you look at the other 12 games, and that was a little bit of Deshaun Watson, other games of backup quarterbacks, those 7 catches went to 4.5. That 90 yards went down to 42, and that 1 touchdown per game went to 0.17. Now, Deshaun Watson's back at quarterback, and Njoku's situation is more likely to look closer to the first 12 games than it was with the Flacco 4 games at the end. If we look at Njoku's 2022 season, we had 628 yards and 4 touchdowns. That seems to be a reasonable projection. However, if the Browns figured out something when Flacco was the quarterback and they can teach those concepts and pass patterns to Deshaun Watson and use Njoku that way, we could see Njoku have a replication of something close to the end of that season. Therefore, the wide range of outcomes for David Njoku.